Welcome to the very 7th BriightCast. In this BriightCast, we're going to be chatting through spur of the moment deadlines. Our main topic is all about budget. We've got Rob chatting about sales decks.
Yeah.
And we've got Jess chatting all about client strategy. So if you want to hear some insights from inside a visual marketing agency, let's go.
Welcome to the very 7th BriightCast episode.
How you guys doing?
Doing good. Yeah, I'm excited to get into this one.
Yeah, well, let's go. Drew, kick us off. What have you been looking at this week? What's been on your mind?
This week, being on lots of client deadlines. And the fun thing about these client deadlines is they weren't the deadlines we agreed. They were new deadlines.
Yeah.
So we had deadlines for a few weeks away, and then we got emails and phone calls asking, is today just better?
One of them came through in quite a crazy way and just like, oh, we was thinking these graphics could be used for this video. And you're like, yeah, brilliant. And almost just in passing mentioned it. Well, obviously the deadline's, a couple of weeks away, so we'll get these ready to be animated in. And like, no. Today, 1 p.m. We're meant to be showing the client.
So they were fun. We did them. We got them out, but it's not great doing that.
No, and I think this is what our main topic touches on as well, is that people should, I know everyone wants things quick, but people should want them at the right time. Like things are better if you've got more time, not just to do the job, but to think around the job and have a bit of dwell time on it.
I was just going to say the videos that we produced were amazing. Like they were still very high quality videos. They were edited really well. But just having that extra time to put extra MoGraph elements in there or a bit more time on those things.
And it's time to step away and think, oh, actually, we could put some of our, patented creativity here that you wouldn't expect that would just elevate it. And we don't know if that would have happened with those, but you don't know because you've not got the time to step back and think about it.
At like the bare minimum, you want like a day or even just several hours to step away for the sound mix and the grade as well, because your ears and your eyes lose objectivity.
Yeah.
So when you listen or look at stuff, things will look different or sound different depending on if you've been editing this thing for ages and there's like a background noise, you might end up just phasing that background noise out.
Yeah.
So you kind of forget about these things. Or with the grade, there might just be something slightly off with the grade, but your eyes will adjust to things. So then you might think that grade's okay.
And I think with both of those areas, we mentioned it last time with consistency, the greasy pole thing, but with both of those areas, you can get to 95% good quite quick, but you do want to invest the time to take it up to 99, 100% there where everyone's satisfied with it.
Yeah, no, I think the main issue with that with clients is clients don't. It's not that they don't understand that section, that part of post production, the finishing, the polishing off. They just don't know about it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, then when they do know about it, they probably still don't understand it. They probably do think it's if you're doing a grade, you're just slapping a LUT on something.
Yeah.
Shipping it, that's done. That's not it at all.
Yeah.
Also, 95% there to them looks amazing still. But we notice those little tweaks that need to be made to add that extra 5%.
And it's the small decisions as well. So our stuff on the whole is great and clients are happy with it.
Yeah.
But because we make those small decisions and those incremental improvements, which all add together to give something pretty special.
Yeah. So the deadlines were cool. They were interesting. We got those sorted though. The videos were all done. They're happy with the videos. We got a message back from one of the clients yesterday saying it's amazing, and another one of the clients we do loads of work for who they had some deadlines. They're happy as well. How about you guys though? What you guys been up to?
Last week we signed on a new marketing client to look at strategy. They're a relatively new company. They've been running for around 2 years, but they've tried various different marketing efforts themselves. They've got external help, and none of it's worked for them.
No.
And they haven't got the return on investment they've been looking for. So we're having some chats with them and working on some strategy work with them to kind of look into the stuff they've been doing, identify why they haven't worked, look into what we think would work, as well as their personas, their competitors, and just doing a really big strategy overhaul for them for 2023.
And I think they're a really interesting client because they have tried a lot of things. And there's a lot of talk online about vanity metrics. And if you were just to take their interaction rate and the actual response and their signups, those vanity metrics, they're doing really well. But they've been doing it for a couple of years and they recognize they've had 0 actual leads from it.
Yeah. And it's taking on the point of their content's performing really well.
Yeah.
They do a lot of webinars and they've got a big email list. So in that essence, they're performing really well and they've got these contacts. But the way they're implementing this content and what they're doing with the data isn't then turning them into leads or turning them into... Yeah.
We're going to go through all their diagnostic part and setting up the marketing plan. But I think as well, there's going to be some fundamental marketing messaging misalignment and they are attracting the wrong people.
Yeah. So we've got the first meeting with them next week. So it's just kind of setting up the presentations we're going to go through with them. We kind of like to do a bit more activity-based things with clients in terms of strategy because it's about them. We want their input rather than us just talking to them. So it's more getting deeper into those. I think
those unearth like what they actually think about things because the problem is when you have a business and you've got your tagline and things like that, it feels like you're saying those things, but you're just saying them because you've memorized them, really. So this is a bit of a step back to unearth how they actually feel about, their aims and their company and stuff, which is cool. That'll be cool.
Excited to kick that off.
And I've been looking at actually our sales pack after an episode of the podcast of BriightCast a few episodes ago. And I did loads of reading around it. There's loads of opinion, research, lots of, obviously it touches on sales strategies and things like that. So there's loads to look at. And I've got a really cool structure where I'm a big believer in if people are expecting to see something, you have to show them that. But then in lots of areas, doing it in a novel way or subverting it even. And I'm going to take you guys through it later and get your opinions on it. And then I think the only thing we need to look at with the sales pack is, because obviously a big thing we do is marketing strategy for people as we're doing for this new client. And it's a bit high level, a bit overview, and people can be unsure on what they're actually buying and walking away with. Yeah. So I've got some ideas with that that we'll go through. But that's been the sticking point. That's the bit I got stumbled on yesterday. Yeah,
I guess it depends. Because it's very easy to get too in-depth within a sales pack, if that makes sense. Like wanting to put case studies in there and all of your services and examples of those services. And like I say, with the strategy, you could even put example strategy plans in there and application and stuff. But then, is it then a sales pack or is it then a huge media pack that gets to like 50 pages long?
And that's not what we want because we want to get people to a conversation because that's where you then, actually do the work.
Yeah.
And I've got a bit of a solution for how we stop that looking like we can do this, but people don't know what we're going to do for them.
Yeah.
So I've got a bit of a solution for that, which I'll go through. But yeah, sales pack. It's been fun, frustrating. Like it's a lot of work and rewriting. But as we discussed on that podcast where we mentioned it, it'll be worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah. Well, we'll go through it.
Nice.
We'll see. We'll call it a teardown session, so you can, pull it apart and we'll put the best bits back together.
Oh, yeah. Me and Jess have been working on our roast material earlier anyway, so don't worry about
that. So Drew touched upon it earlier. Our main topic for today is budget, client budgets in particular, and the main question of how to find your client's budget, basically, how to identify
I think it's a double header because I think it's how to find your client's budget. And so we can talk about what we like in terms of advice and what's worked, but then also the importance of actually having a budget in place because it affects so many decisions, stops a lot of wasted time, but also focuses effort. So performance improves greatly.
I think this is going to be a really, really short podcast.
Where you did some in-depth research.
Yeah, I did a Google just before we started. I typed in, how do you find out your client's budget? The top answer was ask them.
Brilliant. So you recently had a sales call with a company wanting to do some dance things.
Sorry, are we wrapping up?
I think that's the end of the podcast.
No, this is the evidential side of it. So you recently had a call with someone who it's a dance thing. They've previously done something similar for TV, but this time it's going to be online and social. You asked them what their budget was. What did they say?
We don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know.
That's the answer.
Yeah, we've had it. We've had it with loads of clients, haven't we? And we've even had it ourselves, I guess. Like when other people have asked us things, we don't necessarily, and not necessarily in the business, but like personal things. Like, you know, you might go and have some guy coming around to quote for a new kitchen or something like that.
Yeah.
What's your budget? Oh, I don't actually know. But you do know.
I think there's a stage where you might be a complete outsider and you might literally not know, and you can Google it and you can get ranges and things like that. So you might be gathering a few quotes, but really most of the companies we deal with, they've done some marketing before. They know how much some things cost.
They at least have a range. They might not have, I want to spend £10,000 a month on marketing. It might be, it's 8 to 15. They at least have some sort of range that they have for their marketing spend, depending on what your deliverables are.
Yeah. Jumping back to the first question though, of like trying to find out the client's budget. We kind of like historically have like been quite coy about the question. We wouldn't want to ask because we'd find it awkward, or we'd think by asking you're going to offend them, or by asking people you're going to, you know, lessen the chances of you getting the job or something if you're still at like the, you know, pitching stage, something like that. But now it's just a very matter of fact thing. Like I think how do you ask a client their budget? The Google result of just ask them is the best one.
Yeah.
Just ask them what the budget is. There's different ways you can ask them, but you know, I don't think you need to be like Littlefinger and try and like weed your way around, trying to like find it out by being like devious or something. You can just say, so what's your budget on this?
Yeah.
And when they return with the I'm not sure, I don't know, at that point you can, if they have to ask a different, you know, stakeholder or something for their budget, that's fine. You can ask them, they can go and do that. If they literally can't answer, that's fine, you can sort it. But if they are a person who can ask, you can just kind of put towards them maybe a couple of potential budgets that you think it should be.
Yeah.
Or you can then just ask the question again, or rephrase it slightly. You know, what do you think the budget should be? How much do you wanting to spend here? What's the value to you? What do you think you're going to get out of it? What are your aims from it? Yeah. There's all these different questions you can ask to try and get them thinking about it.
Yeah. And there's loads of occasions. Some of my favorite clients we've worked with are those that came for a price and a quote and things, and then they went off, shot it themselves, and they come back because it was bad, and it looks bad on a multi-million-pound company to have self-shot footage by people who don't really know what they're doing within the team.
So there was one client who was the shining example of they said they had a budget.
Yeah.
We gave a quote, which was the honest quote. So the honest quote to do that job was over budget. They couldn't do it. We were over budget. They went and self-shot the project, and it was a project shot they went out to America, like Boston, I think, Washington, and then they went to somewhere in like Scandinavia as well. Yeah. Filmed all this stuff. They self-shot it. None of the people there were video folk, so it was bad. Like the audio was really bad, the video was really, really bad. They were using bad gear or no gear in some parts, like in terms of lighting and stuff. It was just a bit of a silly thing they did. Yeah. And the companies they were doing it for were massive multi-million-pound companies. Yeah. So they're huge, huge companies. They've got these bases all around the world. They came back to us, how can we fix it in post? We gave them a quote. I think the quote was 5 times the initial budget. Yeah. And at that point, we were like, yeah, we can do it. Well, sorry, the point was the actual budget they had was much higher than the budget they just wanted to get away with. Yeah. So they were just trying to just maximize because they're doing it for, they're charging their clients to go and film this. Yeah. They just wanted to maximize their profit at a pure loss. It was a huge loss to them in the end because of the amount of cost.
I remember working on this. It was a nightmare project, not financially, just like for pleasure.
Oh, we made a good amount of money on it in the end, because the amount of fixing
because they wanted everything changing. Basically, it ended up we did some things with stock footage manipulation and then animation as well, and then they was like, oh, we like that, do more of that. So it was like less and less of their stuff, more and more of ours. So it ended up like they'd paid whatever the original $50,000 to go and shoot a voiceover. Basically,
and still a poorly recorded voiceover because the audio was bad, wasn't it? But yeah, it was a thing, and we use it a lot in meets with clients. If they're kind of like edging that way, we kind of give them the story as like a cautionary tale. Yeah, just because we've all had it where we've bought something cheap, and then we've had to buy it again at a higher price.
Yeah.
Or you've done the silly thing where you've bought something cheap, it's broke. You've bought something again cheap, it's broke. It's bought something, and then five iterations down the line, you're like, I should have just spent this same amount of money on the good thing that would still last me.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other thing. Like when you're thinking of a budget, or when you're asking about a budget, when the client's giving you a budget, from a client's perspective, please do think about the budget in terms of what quality you think you're going to attract with that budget.
Yeah.
Because if you're just going to attract, bedroom agencies, that type of thing, and we obviously started off as a bedroom agency. We worked from my kitchen for ages.
Yeah.
If you're just going to attract those, it might not be the quality that you need to achieve your goals. And then you might end up having to just hire another more experienced agency down the line for more money. So,
and I think it's understanding from the opposite point of view as well. Like if you are attracted to a certain agency who can deliver that, then they've put a lot of thought into their pricing within their market. So they're not just trying to rip you off. They've got a price where they can deliver that service that you're attracted to. So I think it's about respecting that as well a bit.
Yeah.
I think some people think service agencies asking for a budget is kind of, if I tell them £10,000 and then we're going to quote me £6,000, they're going to put the budget up to that. It's more to find what's best for their budget. And like you say, with their aims and objectives, all of that goes into play. But it's also what we recommend for people will be dependent on their budget.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Google Ads, our management fee is plus obviously ad spend, so that makes that fee bigger. So if they can't afford that plus the other things they're looking for, it might not be Google Ads that we recommend, it might be a different thing.
Yeah.
So looking at what services we recommend for their budget is one of the reasons why we ask their budget. The same as video. If they've got a smaller budget, it might just be one video in a different way, whereas if they've got a bigger budget, we can make more videos in a better way for them.
It's maximizing the budget, isn't it? So you find out the budget, and people do allocate budgets. Like good organizations will be, okay, so 10% of revenue goes straight back into marketing. I think it should be between 10 and 20. 10% would be great for a lot of companies, and it's the reinvestment. So someone like Blair Enns would say, ask someone, how much have you allocated to invest in this? If they haven't got an answer, then they're not serious really about doing the work. So you're like, brilliant, go have a think about how much you're looking to invest and come back. And then we'll tell you what we can do for that. And then the other way is a bit more value-based pricing, where what are you trying to generate, like in terms of revenue increase, whatever, with this campaign?
Yeah.
And then it's, okay, so for 10% of that return, we think we can get that return, and it will cost this. It's roughly around 10%, and we'll spread it out over the year, depending on your timelines of getting those results. Are both good ways to go down. And it's people understanding that you should actually want to pay the marketing budget and spend all of it, because that's where you're going to get the results.
I think the word investment is key when it comes to marketing and design and branding and all of the creative side of a business, because it is an investment. When done correctly, you're investing money into this marketing pot, which will then return on that investment.
Yeah.
You'll get more leads, you'll get more recognition, you're building an audience. Returning on the investment. So rather than just thinking, I'm spending X amount of money a month into this and I'm just paying a service.
Yeah.
You're not paying a service, you're investing into your business.
There's a natural, especially in the UK, a natural tendency not to want to talk about money. But talking about money early is good, because it works out if you're the right fit.
Yeah, just saying things really, really early, getting any assumption, obliterating any assumption, basically. Because everyone has an idea of what things cost.
Yeah.
We'll be told things, either in our business life or personal life about how much certain things cost, and we'll be shocked by it. But finding out that amount, finding out the cost of something early on rather than much later on when you've invested yourself into it is much better. We've had inquiries before for really, really big projects. And I think we've been starstruck by the idea of working on the project. We haven't necessarily then asked about the budget. And then when you ask about the budget, you then quickly realize, this is either a scam, just a pure lie, or they are genuinely a very big company who just don't want to pay people any amount of money. We spoke about a client this morning, in fact, about an older client who they're a massive company working in London, big offices, say working in London. It's a multinational company. They're huge, and the amount they wanted to pay for projects was an astronomically small price. And we did one project for them where we hadn't quoted like the post-production time. This is very, very early on in Future Proof's life cycle before we were Bright. I think we just quoted for filming. We filmed it, again, not for a great amount of money. And then when we're editing it, they wanted to get it down to basically £100 to edit all these videos for them. Massive company. If you watch any sport, any like sporting event, like football game, rugby game or something, you see this brand advertised at all of these. They're huge. But they just wanted to pay peanuts. So like, again, asking about budget early on would have stopped us from working with them, or we wouldn't have felt obliged to finish the project for them, or they wouldn't have felt that they needed to then get something out for this little amount of money. But yeah, it would have cleared up lots of misunderstandings early on. So definitely just chat about it early. Yeah,
and it's the same way where doing something cheap to get a foot in the door always backfires, because what you're actually doing, you're just anchoring your price.
Yeah, I call it the domino effect, because everybody's had a super cheap Domino's. I remember one Domino's, I got 2 large pizzas, garlic pizza bread, chicken dippers, cookies, loads of stuff. It cost me like 13 quid.
Yeah.
And like ever since that day, I've been like, I don't want to pay much money for a Domino's, because you're
not going to pay 20 quid for a large,
are you now? You've tasted discounts. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone, if you're paying full price for a Domino's, you're either a billionaire, you're either Elon Musk, or you're a chump.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a discount Domino's, so it's the domino effect. As soon as you get that feeling, that taste of a discount, that's all you want from people.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you can offer people a preferential rate or something, if it works out for you, if it's preferential for you, not if it's preferential for them.
Yeah.
It can be preferential for them because they're getting a slightly discounted rate, but the main thing is it's preferential for you.
Yeah.
So for instance, we sometimes offer like a retainer preferential rate for certain projects. Like if it's like a lot of video work, for instance, we might offer a slight preferential rate on it.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about a lot of video work. I'm not talking about 3 videos or 4 videos. Like it's, constant every month we're creating lots of video content. We'll offer a preferential rate, because it's preferential for us, because we know we're going to get that amount of work. We can incorporate it into our cash flow.
Yeah.
But going back to the budget side of it, with all of those as well, those projects, those clients that we have on those retainers, they're all people we spoke about budget with early on.
Yeah.
And they're people you have to constantly talk about budget to if you're like renewing the contract like a year down the line, because if you don't, you just end up doing the same prices for
that's right.
Years
and
years
there's a real resources benefit as well when you're doing that much bulk. You start building a library, you start building a quicker workflow up, so things naturally get quicker anyway. So it is still a bit of a trade-off, but it's worthwhile, and it's not as bad as it always seems when it's that extent of work as well.
Oh yeah, a preferential price also doesn't mean peanuts.
No,
to get all the peas out there.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, I feel we've got to the point in Bright specifically where we're not a startup anymore. It's not convincing people that they need marketing. Yeah. Our personas are people that understand the value in marketing. So when we get to that call and they don't understand the value in that, or they don't understand the value in the investment they're making, at that point we're putting so much work into it to then find out they haven't got the budget in something.
Yeah.
Which is talking money early then, like you say, allows us to sort of segment people that actually want to invest and people that are getting 20 quotes and going with the cheapest no matter what content they're being provided.
Yeah.
And our prices are our prices. We're now in a position where we're a very unique marketing agency, and people who are coming to us understand that, and they've seen the difference that we've made for other companies and how we've made it, and how really it's not a comparison anymore to another agency, because there's no comparison. They want us for this reason, and that's what they're going to pay for, and that's fine, and everyone's happy. We work hard, get them good results, and they're happy. Especially
because we get a lot of recommendations and a lot of return customers, return clients. So they're happy in what they're doing, but they're also recommending us to other people because they see the value in what we're doing for them.
Yeah.
So when new clients find us and then come to us and say, oh, can you drop your price in, or we haven't got the budget for this, we provide so much value for other clients. Why should we then drop the budget for you to provide the same value?
Yeah.
And sort of backfire on ourselves.
Yeah, and I think if we did do that, you would then start prioritizing clients, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And you don't really want to do that. No. I'm sure every agency will have their favorite clients.
Yeah.
I jumped off a call earlier with a client, and they're one of my favorite clients because they value what we do.
Yeah.
And they respect budgets. They tell us budgets in advance. They know the rates. They know how much things cost.
It's a trust in the expertise,
exactly.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And they always push for maximizing the budget, because they know that in maximizing a budget, we can maximize our time on something and therefore maximize the final product.
Yeah.
So they are a great client.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so you don't ever want to prioritize a client. And I think in doing that, where people do want a little bit of a cheeky discount on something for no reason, they just want a cheeky discount. Yeah. They want the exact same service other people are paying for. You do end up prioritizing people, and it isn't a good thing. The exact same way where if someone isn't investing much money into the service they want, you then lose heart in it. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah, it is.
I saw a great thing the other day where a client was asking, and what would make this relationship better? And the answer was getting paid the right amount, getting paid on time. Yeah, but what else could we do? Getting paid the right amount, getting paid on time. Like, they're just two critical things. The right amount on time.
Yeah.
Like, if you're paying the right amount and it's late, it's almost as bad as not the right amount.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Every business, big or small, they're dealing with cash flow. So they've invoiced you. You've got a date. You know it's coming in before then. So every time it's late, it just throws things out for everyone. But it's if you're thinking about your marketing budget and in terms of value and returns, you'll know that, actually, I don't need to invest 50 grand. A video that could do the job for 15 grand, for example, that would actually go into this marketing campaign I've set up and start getting those returns. That's actually the spend that I need to be at.
I think listeners, if they can't necessarily pluck a marketing budget or they can't think of one like that, is
we've had it, and we've gone through great conversations where it's okay. So what's your typical client spend? How long are they spending it with you for? What's your lead time? So from inquiry to purchase, typically, what is it? And people have those answers, or they've got data where we can help them find those answers, and it leads you towards establishing that budget.
And most, I know this is talking about marketing agencies, and you might have this on other various things, but for most marketing agencies, they should be able to help you with that.
Yeah.
Should be able to help you figure out what your marketing budget should be.
Yeah.
And then talk to you and say, well, is that a realistic budget for you monthly? They could also say, no, we can't afford that right now. We'll do 5% or we can spend a lot more than that because we want to make a real impact.
Yeah.
But having honest conversations with suppliers and not just thinking, if they know no one client's worth 50 grand, they're going to, you know what I mean, rip me off. It's not that at all.
We've done it really well with a startup, and they've been really successful. But they were quite clear in that really in the first 6 months, we only need this many signups. And then beyond that, the ceilings for the next 3 years is here, and then here for 5. And we've laid out a plan to get that. And, we're past the first probably 2 phases now with them. But it's gone well. And they were really open about what their product costs, the profit, and so what they want to invest in marketing. And it just helps with the relationship.
We're looking at building a partnership. Like, it's not a service client relationship that we want to build. It is that real partnership element where we want to work with you to make your business great. We're not just supplying an add-on marketing service. We want to deep dive into your business and sit at the heart of it, really, to make it bloody brilliant.
Yeah, so I think because of a partnership thing, I think a big thing is obviously they have to trust you. They have to trust the agency as well. We're telling them, be honest, be upfront, tell us about it.
Yeah.
They'll be thinking, okay, but what are you guys thinking about it? Are you guys being upfront? Are you guys being honest?
That's true.
And we obviously, trust us. We always are. But if you don't trust the agency that you're about to work with, probably don't work with them. Is there a reason you don't trust them, or are you just getting whenever you're going to take your car to the garage or something? Personally, I'm always thinking they're going to rip me off because I don't know anything about cars.
Yeah,
they're going to rip me off. So if that's the thing, maybe try and learn a little bit about what you're trying to get, the service you're trying to get from them. So because you're a little bit more clued up, you can ask a few more probing questions, and then from there, hopefully, you'll be able to trust the agency you're working with. Also, hopefully, the agency that you're trying to work with.
Yeah, they're
is
doing
just
their part
honest.
to build confidence and trust.
There's obviously going to be shysters out there who will just try and,
Yeah,
if you
definitely.
tell them your budget's 10,000, it only costs 6, they're going to go for 9.9 or something like that.
Yeah.
There's going to be people like that who just want to maximize the amount of money from you.
I think as well, if you come in too low, even if you have these marketing objects and aims, and you're really trying to you don't have much ad spend, they could not be honest with you and go, yeah, we can do that. And they're not going to, because you haven't got enough spend there, but they're just taking that, small regular payment from you.
Yeah. And we've had it recently with people who have had a very definite, clear budget. So they've come to us saying, I think this project, the budget for this is £15,000, let's say. How much will it cost? And then we've just been very open about it by saying, I think we can come under budget. Or there's been certain times where we've said, unfortunately, it's going to be over budget. For under budget ones, we've said, yep, we can go under, and it's going to be, £12,000 will be the cost. We could have just said, that's amazing, because it's actually going to cost 15. How lucky is that? Or ones, like you say, with where people are, the actual cost is going to be higher, they can't do it for that, and then they end up delivering a bad service. We had one recently where they said the budget was, I think the budget for the whole project was something like £45,000. We were a large chunk of that, but then there were other people feeding into it. I can't remember what other people's were, but the amount that we quoted for, that would have taken the budget to like £60,000 or something. They didn't have a budget for it. So openly, they said, we don't have a budget for that. We're going to be higher. What can we do? And then we came to some compromises. So we took off a couple of locations, and then they found some extra budget to ensure that we could still have a decent amount of post time on it. Yeah. Again, they're a great client because there's just this openness and this talk about it.
I think when making your decision, hopefully it's not always just down to price anyway, but when making your decision, if your preferred agency is beyond what you've actually allocated, talk to them. I hate hearing, no, we've chosen someone else who was cheaper. It's like, right, were they cheaper and better? Or if it was just cheaper, let's have a conversation. Let's see what they were talking about. Let's see what you actually need.
So that scalability thing as well. If we were £1,000 more expensive than the person they went with, for example, and they chose them because, again, they were just cheaper, so they just went with the cheapest option. Yeah. We could have scaled back some of it and said, we'll do this for 3 months, see your return on investment, and then we can scale. But if it is sort of leeway that we can work on, there's definitely some flexibility in that.
We can't talk budgets without me saying what a little insight of a conversation I've been having with a client who's quite a new client. And we did lots of diagnostic work, looked at their stuff. We gave them 3 options. I can't remember what they are. Let's say it was $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month spend. They found secret sub option cheaper than the $5,000 and said, can you do something for this? And they brought their expectations down, which is why we said, yes, let's do it. And
which is good. They've brought their expectations down.
Their expectations were down temporarily. Then their expectations started creeping up, and they eventually said to me, so they're on, I think it was 6 months retainer. And they said, we want to be this company. And I happen to know that company last year increased their marketing spend from £5 million a year to £17 million a year to dominate. And so I said, how much do you want to increase your investment of, so you're competing at £17 million. How much do you want to increase your investment of £30,000 by? And they went, right.
16,907,000
is what they should be saying. But they went, actually, let's just leave it where it is, see how it does.
And you never know.
Yeah. But the idea was actually their numbers were to reach in 5 years, and it was to scale slowly while they built their infrastructure around it. And the results are being good. But even so, it's just the expectation of what you're going to get for how much you're going to spend. It realistically has to go both ways.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So if we were to wrap up and give a couple of tips about asking about budgets, then
I would say if you're trying to find out someone's budget, be nice and open, but also explain the reason. Because I think a lot of people, you're right when you said they're assuming you're just trying to take maximum budget, when as an agency, we're here to make money and things, but that's not why we're asking. We're asking how to maximize the budget, not take the maximum budget. So I think that's an important thing to explain to people why a budget is important.
I think the only thing around explaining why you need to talk about the budget is I think you can over-engineer the budget chat. So my thing would just be keeping it clear, concise and simple. If they don't understand why you need to talk to them about a budget, I would wonder if you're talking to the right person in the business.
Yeah, that's true.
Because of course you have to talk to them about that.
Yeah.
It's the same with buying anything. If you don't understand why we're having to have the chat about the money, about the transaction, do you understand why the transaction's taking place? Do you understand the point of the transaction? So I would just try and keep it super clear, super simple, super concise. I would just ask, what's the budget? You can rephrase that in different ways if it makes you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
But I would just keep it nice and clear. If they then do come back and say, well, why do you need to know the budget? You would then just explain.
Yeah,
like you can then explain if you want, well, I need to know the budget because you're after this project.
Yeah.
I think without knowing all the details, because we're asking about the budget early on, that's the other thing, ask about it early on.
Yeah.
Without knowing all the details, to achieve this project, it could be, for instance, caveat it from this to this.
Yeah.
If your budget sits below that, then there's an issue. If it sits somewhere within that, we can create something for you. We can do something for you. And then hopefully they will then just go, oh, okay, I'll find out my budget, or my budget is this.
Yeah,
and you can have the chat.
I think one of the main problems of not knowing a budget when they're coming to you with a project is we can say, oh, it's going to be X to X. But if their budget's way less than that, for example, they then get scared and think we can't do any work for them for that.
Yeah.
So say if they...
Which may be the case.
May be the case. But in the example of, if the example they bring to us, we can take a guess that it was a 40 grand project, but they only have enough, they only have a £15,000 budget.
Yeah.
We can still create content for that, but it won't be on the level, like Drew said earlier, the level of this advert that they've just bought. But knowing that budget, rather than going, oh, it's going to be 40 grand, and then, we don't have the budget for that. But what was the budget?
Yeah, it's the problem with Rangers as well, is people see our output for other people that have been recommending us.
Yeah.
And they might not have an idea, so we give a ballpark, 5 to 20 grand a month or something like that. And they'll say, wow, we can get these guys doing our marketing for 5 grand a month.
Yeah.
When really what they're thinking, what they was originally attracted to was the output of actually 20 grand and the returns we were getting at 20 grand a month. But they're just thinking, wow, we can get them for 5 grand a month.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to go back on my giving a range and offering up a budget, because you need to find out what their budget is early, so you know if they're going to be a right fit for you. Because you yourself, you personally know there could be a range or a guesstimated version of their budget. But then without giving them that, because then that, no matter how many times you say, this is a caveat, we're slapping some caveats on this, all they ever hear is the low amount, the lowest version of it. And then from there they think, probably even lower than that for some reason. Yeah. Clients always hear different numbers. You then just have to find more information out. So you want to find their budget, and then you want to find out more information.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you can say to them, do you understand the word caveat?
Yeah.
Because I'm caveating this range. I had it recently with one where it was, I had no details. I just knew they wanted this video. Could you give us a range of things? And all I said was, well, this is our day rate for going out on production, and this is our day rate for post-production.
Yeah.
I don't know how many days you need of each, because I don't know what we're doing, but this is it. And then from that, they just put the two numbers together and were like, cool, we could do it for that. It's like, no. It's definitely not a day of each one of those things.
It's why an example is good, because you can say, for us to create something like this or akin to this, it's going to be, 3 days shoot and probably about 7 days post or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you've already explained the day rate and stuff. That's one way of doing a very basic thing. I think when you're just doing a video project, that's easy. When you're doing marketing support around all of that, it's more complicated, and you just need to know their budget so you can maximize it.
Yeah.
There's so many options. We had a call with a guy who was like, yeah, we should be on, obviously be on LinkedIn, but what about Insta? What about Facebook? What about TikTok, Snapchat? We need to be on all of these.
But we've also got 3 different personas, which obviously LinkedIn's one of them, Facebook and Instagram's a different one, TikTok and Snapchat, that's a different persona as well.
It does make sense, but you can't just give a quick price on that. You know, there's so much effort. And because it is 3 different personas, like very different, they're basically 3 different campaigns.
3 different pieces of content. You can't reuse any of that. Yeah. So you 2 have given tips for businesses. I'd say for individuals listening to this that are going to any service, not just marketing, it's having a budget in mind. And I know some people will then, like we said earlier, go and not have a budget and want to get ballparks and things. But have a think before you go, what would be a maximum, say, budget for you? And what would be the return on investment you'd expect with that? Or look at it from the other way around. What is the return on investment you'd expect? And then work backwards. Yeah. And it's rather than going to a thing and you can have, like we said earlier, you can have the conversation with the marketing team, but having expectations early and choosing providers around that rather than you're wasting both sides' time.
I love looking at the value you want to get back because that's really what it is. So you want to get this value. What are you willing to pay for that value? Yeah. And then it's about agencies more just gaining your trust in delivering that value for you.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't think we've necessarily answered the question of how can you ask a client their budget, but we have spoken around the importance of budget, why people should have a budget, and given some tips on if people don't want to give a budget, how to kind of explain to them, but also ask in a nicer way.
Yeah, and from both sides, like from an agency, have the conversation early so you can see if you're a good fit. But if a client doesn't know their budget genuinely, like there's ways of helping them. Use the value proposition, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think we've not definitively answered the question of how to get a client to tell you their budget because there is no definitive answer.
Yeah.
We've given we've given a bunch of ways for you to try and find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get it. We spoke to a super experienced agency owner yesterday.
Yeah.
Who is, big team, loads and loads and loads of like super high profile clients and work. He's been going in the like agency game for decades.
Yeah.
And he still struggles with this.
Yeah.
So lots of people still struggle with it. So if you are a person who goes to agencies with this, don't worry. It's probably always going to be a stumbling block, but you'll get better at trying to find out the budgets and you get better at trying to advise the clients. They need to know about budgets.
Yeah.
It's having the confidence as well, knowing you need the budget and why you need the budget.
Yeah. Have the conversation.
Yeah. Nice.